Welcome to the Racing Nuggets podcast. I'm PJ Noodleman. Dan Plan unable to join us for this particular episode, and that's his loss because joining us on the podcast is Chris Weinkauf from Merrill, Wisconsin. Hey, Chris.
How you doing? Thanks for having me
Pretty
on.
well, yeah. First, I gotta say, what's with the mustache? Is that like a whole new look for you? I don't recall ever seeing that.
No, you probably haven't. My wife told me I should probably shave it off even before before this. And then when I told her this morning that I was going to do a podcast, and then tonight I got home from working on the race cars all day, and she's like, "Oh, it's a video podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a video podcast." She goes, "Well, what are you going to do about that thing?" And I'm like, "Well, at this point, it is what it is, you know." It started out at the beginning of the year. You know, we got a bunch of guys on our crew at Vantage East Racing, and they all are just super duper. You know, we just try to lighten things up, entertain some things, and I don't know. Somebody said, you know, we should grow a mustache for the first race, and of course, I didn't want to just like grow a mustache, so I've grown a beard before. I don't know if you remember that a couple of Oktoberfests ago. It was
Oh
probably
yeah.
atrocious too, but so I grew the beard and then I shaved off the beard and just kept the mustache. So a couple of us still have it. Whether we're going to get rid of it soon, not really sure. Hopefully.
It's kind of growing on me the more I look at you.
Wendy says the same thing, but you know, I only get compliments from men usually, and that's it. I think the women get a little creeped out about it, but oh well.
You don't drive a van down by the river, do you?
I do drive a minivan. I do. There's nothing wrong with driving a man van. There's nothing wrong with it.
I just figured down by the river you might be one of those, hey little girl, want to ride?
I drive a man van and I live on a river. So I mean, I guess you could throw all them things together, but no, it's just all in fun a little bit, you know. Again, I talk about the guys, they're just great guys, and we just have a little bit of fun at the racetrack.
For sure. You mentioned the Van Der Geist, obviously. That's kind of who you've been teaming up with, working with Levon, and we're going to get into your career here too in a little bit, but you have probably been a really great mentor for him, Levon Van Der Geist, as he is kind of getting his legs underneath of him and really coming into his own. He's had a lot of really great success and showing some excellent speed lately.
Yeah, I try to be. I'm not the best mentor in the world. You know, I'm a little, I guess you want to call old school and stubborn and a little bit stuff like that. So, but being in the position I am at my job, I just celebrated 30 years there. I work with a lot of young people nowadays in the manufacturing field, as well as older adults. But you know, I've really grown a lot over the years. You know, whether it's temper, whether it's teamwork. You know, we're really big at work on teamwork and you know, not blaming the next person and helping the person out. And if you're helping the person out, they be able to take it, you know, and a lot of that's transferred to the race team. And, you know, we've grown together over the past over 10 years now. We've been at Vantage East and we've watched Levon grow up since he was a little kid. You know, there's memories on Facebook when you see him driving the Bandoleros. I think there was just one the other day had fast time for the opener of Wausau, and he was just a little tyke. So yes, we've been there since the beginning. He's been a quiet kid most of his life. He's getting to be 20 years old this year, opening up a little bit more. We're enjoying that actually. You know, the guys and I are just like, yes, he's fired up on the radio even, you know. So I think that's spunked a little bit in him, and he's learned a lot and progressed, and we've taught him a lot of things. He's setting up his own race cars now without us even being at the race shop. So I mean that's really big for him, for the family, for us. You know, we got 4 race cars there, so no full-time people. When anybody can pitch in to help, it really is a big deal. But yes, it's been great to watch him grow, watch him progress. We just won a feature last week at Plover, and you know he sat on the outside for more than half the race, so that was really impressive to see. A lot of people were falling back on the outside, and he just stuck with it and a lot of grit for that one. So pretty proud of him for that.
You mentioned that you don't think you're much of a mentor, but just based on what you said about what you do at your work, it sounds kind of like you are a mentor.
Yeah, I would say, again, I've grown a lot. I was a young, cocky punk kid that raced cars, thought he was all that. And I didn't bring a lot of racing to my work. I tried to strictly keep it to keep it away from work. I Reasoning, I'm not really sure why. I got a lot of friends at work and they ask me how I do and stuff like that. Um, I'm a supervisor there, and I try to keep it professional and try to keep a little bit away from work, but it does pour in there. And again, I think it's more about just learning over the years and maturing and um, being a team. We've moved people around at my work just for the reasoning where they fit better, where a person fits better. They might not you hire them for a position and they're just unhappy. And then you talk to them and you ask them why and how can we make this better? You're a good person, you're a good worker. We don't want to lose you. We don't want to see you. Our biggest thing is we don't want to see you be unhappy. And we try to fit people in the right positions. And it's really helped me, I think, along the way, become a better person and a better leader, really.
I think when you're able to not have work and personal life separated in a way that you can really bring your authentic self everywhere, I think that that makes your life a lot easier too.
It does. I mentioned a little bit about the seriousness. I probably get a little bit too serious at work sometimes, um, because you want people to be happy and you don't want it to be like a slave driver type of thing. Um, and then when it comes to working on race cars, I'm pretty serious about that. Make sure we take our time, make sure we don't miss anything, make sure we don't mess anything up. So it takes us probably longer than other people do working on their race cars, just because we maybe go back and check things and do things a couple times and make sure they're right. And it's over the years, it's gotten to be a lot with a full-time job and working on them, but we've made it work. Made it work. My wife, I don't know. My wife was probably ready for that to be over, I think. But she's been talking about my wife, she's been a great support of my racing for a long, long time, since the beginning when I met her, and and still is. I don't race as much as I used to. Um, so she doesn't go to as many races as she used to, but she still enjoys it. And I'm actually going to race Wassa this year. Going to start. We're doing this today. We're going to go test tomorrow, and we start Saturday at Wassa. So that'll be pretty cool.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. Like, when are you going to get back behind the wheel? So that's how much more racing are you going to do this season?
Well, there's 7 races at Wassa. They dropped it down to 7. There was 8, I believe. 6 um, for the points, and then I think there's one more race at the end. Phil Bickley special. But State Park has always been, I guess, special to me a little bit. I put that I put that post on Facebook a couple weeks ago that State Park was a little special to me. I'm going to go back there. And then I seen Dan Fredrickson at Madison. And he goes, you know what? I read your Facebook post, but I got to like sentence 2 and it was all sentimental and my ADHD kicked in and I just quit. He goes, are you racing there every week? It was funny. I mean, I don't normally get sentimental, but it was just, I've been there since I was 15 years old. That's where we started. That's where my dad took us as a family to the races every Thursday night, as many Thursdays as we could go. We were dairy farmers at the time and milk the cows, get down there. I remember being there in, for the one of the very first Larry Degens memorials, and the stands were so packed we were all sitting on the ground, because we got there late. We didn't get a seat. We had to walk a half a mile to get there and sit in the grass, but which nowadays they don't even let you sit close to the fence anymore. How they did that back then, I'm not really sure. My parents were, um, we had 4 kids, so we drag them all over there and watch the races, and we just had a lot of fun doing it. And then when I turned 15, I was gonna buy a four-wheeler, or I said, Dad, we should race cars. And he goes, well, we don't have the money for that. Well, Grandpa had an old Impala, and he said, you guys can have it. And we started pulling it apart. And then I had some cousins that were a little couple years older than me, and they just lived down the road. And they said, I got a buddy that has a race car in the barn. It was an old bomber car. We should check it out. Well, then we did, and of course it was dang near free, So we drug it home, and we pulled that motor out of the Impala, and we put it in that old bomber car, and we went to the racetrack, and that's where it got started. Back then, they used to race Jeff Kostrowski from Hilltop. I don't know if you know who he is, but from the state park area, they used to race the bombers, and they used to race them in pack style. So at the end of the night, after all the late miles and supers were done and all that, they'd put like 30, 40 cars out there, and they'd run them in a pack style, and whoever won the 20, 30 laps or whatever it was kind of like an enduro. And right when I started racing in 1990, they got rid of that, and they went to qualifying heat races and features. So at 15 years old, I was kind of, with that whole start of that bomber division at State Park. And then it moved to Tomahawk, and that's where we started. 15 years old, running Tomahawk and Wausau State Park Speedway. So again, it's been just growing up there. And 2010 was when the Wimmers brought it up, took it over. I believe it was 2010, somewhere around there. And I teamed up with Ed Holmes and Kerslings, and we won the championship that year. So that was a lot of fun. So I want to go back for the last year of Wimmers. It just works out well for our schedule with Levon and all the races that we're doing. And it's only 6 races. We got a lot of fans and friends all around the whole central Wisconsin. So we're gonna take advantage of that opportunity to go and celebrate, I guess, with the Wimmers. Maybe it'll be a racetrack next year. Who knows? But as of right now, we're gonna celebrate the last year with them.
And I know that they're working on making larger purses too, which will make it even more delightful for you when you get in victory lane, right?
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure that the weekly stuff is going to be as big, but they're talking about the Larry Deaches Memorial. I mean, if you think about that, it might be the highest paying race in the whole state this year. Um, I know they announced it at the drivers' meeting in Madison that they're going to add an additional $25,000 to the purse. So, or maybe that was the total purse. I'm not exactly sure, but that's a lot for us around here. And you might see a lot of people come to that weekend. It should be
Yeah,
pretty special.
I think so too. That is a pretty cool track too. It's very unique. I mean, it takes some people a little bit to kind of get the hang of it there. So you definitely have cut your teeth there for sure. What was your first win ever racing?
Um, that would have been at 15 in the bomber division at State Park Speedway. I do believe it was State Park. We have some old pictures. I do have some on the wall actually, here in my shop. There might be, it might have been Tomahawk, but I'm pretty sure it was at 15 years old. I did win a feature at State Park Speedway. So had a lot of support. My dad was just, as soon as I did it, he just went all in. I mean, all in. He learned as much as he could. Um, Throughout the years, he tried learning roll centers and all that stuff and helping us. We built the bomber cars that we had back then. We bought that first one, and then we built every one after that. And we just did it in our little shed next to our barn, and then pretty much took over my mom and dad's garage after that and stayed there for a long time until I built this one. But my dad was a really huge supporter of it all for a long time. My uncle Dan, he was another big part of our racing career. And I say ours because my brother's been doing it just about as long as I have. Uncle Dan went with my dad to the races when he was a teenager and grew up with him. That's my mom's brother. And he went off and crew chiefed some other guys throughout his career. And then when he came back, he, just helped us out. And he'd come to Merrill just about every night of the week and then come to the racetrack with us all the time. So he's been a really big supporter of my racing. He had some health issues a couple of years ago, but is doing a lot better. So he stepped away from the racing, and I asked him to be my honorary crew chief for the year, these 6 races at State Park. Unfortunately, he just texted me today he can't make it this week because of his granddaughter's graduation, which, that's that part of the year is right now. So, but hopefully I can have him there with me for some races yet this year. So, it's been a lot of family over the years, really. And
Yeah.
then getting hooked up with Van Der Geist, they're like family to us now too. I mean, we've just been with them for so long. So it's all about family and friends, I think. The people that you meet in racing is just crazy. You know this. You know the people that you've met. Um, I've met so many friends and so many people from not just this state, but from other states that we would have never even known and become friends with. So it's really cool if you look back at how many people you know because of racing is it's kind of unique.
It is a family. I mean, people say that all the time, and sometimes it sounds like it's just words, but it is true. Racing really is a family.
Yep. Yep. And it ain't just your family. I mean, it just seems like it's a big family because you spend your weekends with people, a lot of times. Um, so it just it makes everybody feel like they're a big family. It gets more important, I think, when you get a little bit older. When you're younger, I don't think people realize that. Even me, when I was younger, all I wanted to do was just win races. It didn't matter to me. I didn't care who was at the racetrack. I remember a time this was in the 90s. I started racing the Dells right when I got in the super late model racing. And and I went in the Dells when in the mid 90s, the Dells Motor Speedway, there was a lot of top guys there racing for championships and Wimmers and Risers and just the Kendall. I remember Todd Zick. I remember going there as a really young and one of my first races, and then I watched a trophy dash. Of course, I wasn't in it, but um, I think it was Kendall punted. Todd Zick spun him out, and then Todd Zick spun him out, and nobody cared. They wanted to win races. And the next week, I think I was in the middle of the pits, and I met Kendall, and I'm like, "Man, you ain't making any friends here." And he looks right at me, and goes, "I ain't here to make friends." I'm like, "Okay, I, I guess so." But he was fast too. He won a lot of races that way. So, I mean, you could look at it both ways too. But I mean, you always
Yeah.
have your rivals, but you usually you could still stop by their trailer after the race is over and have a chat with them, whether it was a beer or a soda, and just have fun. So it really didn't matter really what happened on the racetrack. I think everybody, you know, can get along at some point in time.
Yeah. And it might just be a competitive rival in that regard, not necessarily like evil and good. So
Yeah. Yeah.
who has been some of your biggest rivals or competitors over the years that you were like, dang, I want to beat that guy?
Our Plover comes to mind for our family. My brother raced Plover more than I have, or Golden Sands Speedway. I think the biggest rival there was probably Mark Eswine. Man, that guy just won like so many races at Golden Sands Speedway. I think he's like a 7-time champion there. Um, I believe my brother and Burton Brown are the only two people that have broke him off of the streak of winning. It might even be more. He might be 9-time champion now. I think he won it again last year. I mean, the guy was just unstoppable there. And of course, you want to beat him, so he's kind of a rival a little bit. And he he's very competitive. When you get on the racetrack, there could be some bumping and grinding and this is my spot and not yours type of thing. But we could always still have a conversation with Mark after the race was over. But he was very, very competitive on the racetrack. I mentioned that I got teamed up with Ed Holmes and the Kerslings in the 99 car, which they picked the number because of Dick Trickle back in the day, which was kind of cool. But that was in 2010, and we raced State Park with them. Golden Sands, and then I had my own car that I raced at Marshall on Saturday. But we did wind up winning the championship at Wausau State Park Speedway with the Kerslings in 2010. Would have would have knocked us one off that throne for the championship at Golden Sands, but we blew the motor the last week. The last night we blew the motor, so we missed the championship. Um, that same year, my brother and I were fighting for a championship at Marshfield Speedway. So we were going to take the 99. And well, what happened was the week before the championship, we all got in a big wreck, and my car landed on top of his, and we're like, oh, this ain't gonna make it. So the Kerslings offered their car to me for Saturday night, but of course we blew the motor on Friday. I wound up running the 7-Eleven that night. Did lose the championship to my brother, however, so I lost two championships in like a week there, which was tough to take. But we had a really good year that year. Ed Holmes was on our team as a crew chief, and Ed's really, we talk about families, really become really good friends with mine. Talk to him as often as I can. Helped me out a lot in my career right there, right around 2010. So that was a lot of fun. Came on board with us with Van Der Geist for a while. And then we did split ways a little bit in the, little couple years after that, but still remain friends and thank him for what he did for me that, in that time frame. It was a lot of fun.
For sure. So 75 is the number everyone has affiliated with you. How did you land on 75 for your number in racing?
It's it's kind of weird. So um at State Park Speedway, growing up watching, I remember watching Wayne Breitenfeld. Okay, and Wayne Breitenfeld started at the age of 14, so his number was always 14. So um, I wanted to go there and be like Wayne Breitenfeld and start with the number 15 because that was the year I started. And when I got there, Marty Verhagen from Antigo had 15, so they wouldn't let me have 15. So we wound up putting a 7 in front of, making the 7 out of the 1 and turning into 75. And we're like, well, that was the year you were born. So it was close to the 15, but, it was a 75. So then when my brother started racing a bunch of years later, then he took the 76. So them were the 2 years that we were born. And that's why we got the number. But it wasn't planned. It wasn't the very first number that I had. The 15 was the first number, but dang, Marty from Antigo had it. So I had to switch it up a little bit. I think that there's some pictures of, we couldn't do 5 either because it was a guy, Butch Russell had 5. So I thought there was a 7 on there at one time without the 5, but I remember the day that we had to change it from a 1 to a 7. It was duct tape, and we got a picture of that, and that's why we did it. So, and it's cool to kind of go through your whole career with one number. It doesn't always happen. I won the championship in the 99. Ran for Ed Holmes in the prestigious 21, I feel it is, because that thing's been around for a long time. And you can see some old pictures on the internet about Ed Holmes too, and it's cool. His career is pretty cool. So to win some races, I won the Dick Trickle 99 in the 21 car. That was a really big highlight in my career, to do that with Ed.
I saw
With
that
his,
hunk of cheese back there and I thought I bet that is probably your most prized trophy.
it is. There's a few. I got a couple Larry Degens memorials at Wausau that are pretty good. But I would say, yeah, that was probably one of the bigger ones of my career was winning that race, that Dick Trickle 99. And being there, I got a picture in Victory Lane with Dick, and there's not a lot of people that can say that anymore. And that was really cool to be there. The McCarnes family did an awesome job putting that race on and bringing that on and to still do it. So it was really cool. And the Dearies. So to win that is special. I mean, Oktoberfest is special to me. It's just, I've always been there. I don't even know what happens in central Wisconsin or Merrill the first weekend of October because I've never been here. my whole entire life, I don't think I've ever been in Merrill, Wisconsin on the first weekend of October. So if you ask me whatever happens here, I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's funny. So it was your dad that got you involved in racing then. So did he ever race?
My dad did not race. No. Um, did he want to? Maybe. Yeah, but he grew up around cars. Him and his very good friend Danny Rotz lived across the street from him. And my grandpa was he had a lot of cars. He had a lot of stuff. My grandpa had a farm, but he also worked in town. And he had a lot of cars. And my dad would just, when he got up of age, him and the neighbor, Danny, they would just go get cars out of the field and start driving them down the road. And if one needed a transmission, I remember a story my dad told me. Him and Danny, they were going to town on a Friday night. I think they were going to pick up the girls to go to the movies or something. And they blew a transmission in the old Chevy. I don't know what kind of Chevy it was. I'm like, well, what'd you do? He goes, well, we jacked it up and changed it. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, we had a spare in the trunk. They jacked it up, put it on blocks, pulled the transmission out, put a new transmission in, and went on their way on a Friday night. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So my dad knew how to do all that stuff when he was young. And, he's always been a motorhead. And back when him and Danny and his buddies all grew up, that's what they did on Thursday nights. They all went and watched Dick Trickle and Larry Degens and all these guys go to State Park Speedway on a Thursday night, and that's what they did. They were car guys, and then obviously had four kids and he started farming in 1986. So I would have been 11. We had a barn fire, and we lived about 10 miles south of here, which would put us in Wausau School District. So we weren't from Merrill. We were from Wausau. That's where my dad grew up and everything. And we had a barn fire. We lost all of our cattle. We lost the barn. And my dad's like, well, as a family, sat us all down. You guys want to still farm, or what do you want to do? And at that time, I was 11, but I do remember it. We were all like, yeah, let's do it. And he found this farm, and we bought it from a family that was retiring. And so that's what we were doing. We were farmers. So it took a lot away from the gearhead that my dad had. He had a really good friend, Billy, that passed away. That was his right-hand man. And we always used to not tease, but talk about, what Billy would have thought about our racing as a family, because he was with my dad a lot back in the day, working on cars and stuff like that. So he would have been involved in it. So we know he's been looking down on us this whole time, and it's just that's how we got started. Was my dad just always took us to the races because he just loved it. The only family vacation we ever got was we would go to the Dixieland 250 on a Tuesday, and I remember I think we had a van. Sometimes we had a station wagon, whichever it was. But my aunt would come over, my dad's sister, my aunt Linda would come over, and she would milk the cows on that Tuesday night because we would load the whole family up. And that was our only vacation that we had. It was August, first Tuesday in August. And we'd all truck over in Wapaka, there was always a water slide and a go-kart. And we'd stop at the water slides and we'd water slide for a couple hours and run the go-karts for a couple hours. And then we'd go to Dixieland 250 for the afternoon and watch the likes of Hanson and all them guys. And it was just like, at that time, I didn't know or maybe think, at least I don't remember that I'd be like, man, I'm going to do this someday. Never really thought of it that way. I don't think when I was a kid, I just thought it was really cool. And then to go there, and to do it, to run the Dixieland 250 when I was able and had the support was just amazing. Same with like the Milwaukee Mile. My dad, that was another vacation that him and his buddies would go on. He never took the family, but just him and his buddies would go, and they'd go watch. They'd always talk about Dick Trickle, at the Milwaukee Mile, or they'd also go to Minnesota State Fair for the ASA race over there. They loved going over there. So my dad went to as many races as he could. And that's how he got to be the gearhead. I think that he was, or just had it in his, in his blood, and it transferred to us. And my wife would probably tell you we don't need it in our blood anymore, but I don't think it's going away.
So, did your dad pass away then? Or is
No,
he
no,
still here? Okay, I
yep,
wasn't sure if you were
yep,
talking in past tense that he was.
yep,
So, what
no,
does he
he's still
think
here.
now about everything that you've done?
He's happy, he's slowing down. He's now retired. My mom and him do a lot of gardening. Um, we got him to go to the racetrack twice this week and pick out tires for us at State Park Speedway. So he was just at the shop today, just checking over, making sure we're all, we're doing everything. He still likes it. He still wants to do it, just not physically able to do it like he used to.
Yeah.
So still very proud of us. We don't, I got a shop here at my house, but we don't do much racing out of this shop. We do it over at Vanity's. So it's kind of been a little bit different since we moved out of here, but for him. But he still enjoys coming. Still, Dad, we need a motor picked up. Yeah, I guess I'll go do it. There better be gas in the truck, or I ain't going.
How close do your parents live to you?
To me, I can see their house from my house. So yeah, I built
Nice.
when we quit farming and all that kind of stuff, then I built on some farmland behind there. My wife and I did. Built a shop and built a house. My older brother built on the same land. His son is now built on the same land. So we kind of call it the Weinkauf compound a little bit because it's all Weinkaufs right now. My younger brother Jason's probably going to build out here. They got some land. My sister, she's not a Weinkauf, so I don't think she's going to be part of the compound. So no, she would love to come out here, but my sister's a big supporter of us too. They bought a cottage up north and they like going up north. So
Nice. Is she
yeah,
older or younger than you?
youngest. We had a baby
Okay.
sister. So I have an older brother, Chad, and then my younger brother, Jason, and my youngest sister, she's the youngest, Nikki. So
Okay.
Nicole. Yeah.
So she's
Mhm.
not only the baby, she's the only girl.
She's the only girl. Yes. She was the only girl and probably the toughest girl. She's the only one that went into the Marines and did all that kind of stuff. So I think we toughened her up for that a little bit, maybe. But no, she's great. She's always been a huge supporter of our racing, of Jason and I, and the whole family really has. So it's been great.
That's
It's
cool.
it's tough getting old, man. It's like I think, well, maybe my racing is just about over. You're getting old. So
No,
I
no,
mean,
I don't think so.
you got my brother's son, my nephew Oliver's coming up. He's racing bandos now. He's really getting into it. So they're gonna, or we are gonna. Like, he likes me when I go along too, but go around to all these races. They got races in Madison and Jefferson and Plover and Toma and Norway. I mean, it's like running the Midwest tour with a bando. So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. So the schedule is really, really full this year.
Where did you meet Wendy, your wife?
I met Wendy um, at a bar in Merrill. Um, my was my wife had a husband pass away at a young age of cancer. God bless Andy. And we just connected at that time, sure, a year or so after she had lost him. And um, I think she saved me a little bit because I was racing and doing all this stuff and running around and I met her and it was just everything changed in my life, everything. And I got, I think, more serious about life and the direction that I wanted to go in and where we were heading. And she wanted to be a part of that. And so I hooked her, I snagged her a little bit. I had to charm her a little bit. We actually got a pretty tight group of friends that have all been friends for a long time. She's 1 year younger than me, but we've all stayed a group since high school. And
That's
she
impressive.
yeah, yeah, it really is. There's a lot of us that are, a big group of people that have been friends, and we all hang out a lot. Some of them are on my crew, some of them are not. Some come to the races every Thursday when they can, and they've always been a part of that. And it's just um, some of them had to maybe talk her into going along with me a little bit, but once she did, then it was all good. So we met we met at like I said at a bar in Merrill one night. But I knew who she was. I knew her husband. I knew all that. I went to school with him, and I did know who she was. And I got out of a 7 year relationship, and I remember telling her that I'd meet her at the bowling alley at midnight and Saturday night, or Friday night, wherever I was racing, I'd be like, "Boys, we got to pack this up. I got a chick to meet at midnight here. We got to go." And I'd always meet her for the last dance, and that's what started it. And we just had a really good time, and have had a really good time. We got a lot of dogs, not a lot of kids.
I love your
Um,
dogs.
no kids, but a lot of dogs. Trickle, Gordon, and Ranger. They're a handful, but they keep us going. So
That's awesome. You have a bit of had quite a bit of God winks, it sounds like, in your life that kind of got you right where you needed to be in the right time, huh?
yeah, probably. I mean, you could say that. I always say there's a lot of angels above us that are watching over us. I do believe in that, and I do think that that's true. They do watch over us. There's no doubt in my mind that we got angels watching over us every day. Some of them are closer than you think, and there's others that are just out there, you know, taking care of us. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. You really do have some great friendships too in racing, and I know that that extends even beyond the race season. A lot of you and your group go out and snowmobile as well too. Are you as heavy on the throttle these days in a snowmobile as you were when you first started riding snowmobile? Are you still as daring then?
Absolutely not. I'm not. I've slowed down a lot on the snowmobile. Um, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Getting older, probably partying too much a little bit. Once you get to know these guys, there's a lot of friends, a lot of friendships and a lot of things just to talk about. We don't even get many miles on because we just have so many things to talk about. Brad Miller, everybody knows JJ, and we just have a lot of fun with him. He started the Carnage Cruise years ago. I met one of my best friends up there, Bart Brewer from Brewer Music. You guys see it on my race car. I met him up there at the Carnage Cruise, and that's why I say you meet so many people just from the racing. Probably would have never went up there if it wouldn't have been for the racing. So Toby and I talk about snowmobiles a little bit. I asked him if he was ever slowed down. He said he can't slow down
Mm-mm.
on snowmobiles, which you know he might a little bit when he can't see anymore. It sounds like.
Yes. Actually, that was a problem for him. He had LASIK surgery here within the last year, but yeah, he was having some challenges with his eyes, and that did slow him down a little bit.
He says he can't help it. He's told me he just can't slow down. He just likes to go fast on the snowmobile, which is cool to see. You know,
Yeah, it's like
Toby.
his one vice. He doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke, so
Yeah,
snowmobiling it is.
snowmobiling it is. He's
Yeah.
another one that's I've gotten to know over the years, and Toby's just been like a mentor to me. I told him that the other day on the phone. I said, "You're my mentor. This is where I've learned it from." Him and I would talk just about every night on the way home from a race, that I competed in, and it was he's just become really good friends, and I appreciate his what he all does for us and our race team and me personally. So cool dude.
He likes all of you guys a lot.
Yeah,
You're high on his list, that's for sure.
that's awesome.
I
Yeah.
have one more question for you. What is or was or currently is your favorite paint scheme that you ever had on any of your cars?
We've had some different ones for
You've
sure.
had some really
Um,
beautiful ones.
Here, I'm going to show you this little pin here. This was when I was, this must have been when I was 17 right here. Yeah. Jeff
Oh, wow.
Gordon colors when he came out. I
Wow.
just saw that sitting on the bulletin board there. I wanted to show it to you. Yeah, my cousin, when I first bought my first sportsman car, he's like, "What do you want to paint this thing?" And that was right when Jeff Gordon just came out. And I'm like, "Well, Jeff Gordon rainbow colors would be really cool." I remember we were in my garage and we painted it all up. There's no stickers back then. Everything was painted with with paint and booths and plastic hanging down. I mean, they were good memories. I don't, then we all went to the vinyl. And I had my car was wrapped. My brother and I's cars were wrapped like the flames of Jeff Gordon once. Um, and then we went to Van Der Geist and we started wrapping them with all them weird, them crazy colors and the wings on them and stuff like that. And I think when we went to the pink, it was pretty cool. We tried doing the chrome pink, which is a little bit darker. But this last one seems like it's really hit the home run with the iridescent or however you call it, where it changes the
Mm-hmm.
colors. So I'd say that probably that one's probably the favorite, at least to the fan favorite for sure. But a lot of them cars were really cool. The pink was pretty big with my wife. She did some Susan G. Coleman walks, 60-mile walks, one in California and Chicago and a couple different places. So the pink was always a big deal for us to support that. So that's kind of where the pink came from. Um, the blue actually came from just getting our cars different colors at Van Der Geest because he always had red and it was like, well, we can't paint them all red. So, we're like, well, you take blue and Jason was black and that's how I got the blue. And then that kind of stuck. And then we went with a lighter blue and some pinks. And it's just, um, they've always seem like they've been favorites on the racetrack for fans for sure.
I think
Yeah.
you won Best Appearing Car, didn't you, at Oktoberfest with that?
Yeah. A couple times we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you've always had great looking cars.
Yeah. They're kind of hard to upkeep. I told the guys the other day because we had to have it wrapped again because we did wreck it at Oktoberfest again last year. So we had to have the whole front end rewrapped. And it's like, we're going to go with the same colors that we had last year. But I'm like, man, we're just going to have a black car one of these days with a number on the side of it and just change some things up a little bit.
Oh,
Seems like it would
funny.
be easier.
Kind of can be, yeah. It kind of
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah.
I lied. I have another couple questions for you.
No
What
problems.
is your favorite track to run at?
That's a tough question. Um, I've been asked that question before, and I've never really had a good answer on how to answer that. Um, I just think about a lot of them. I think I'd have to say the Milwaukee Mile was probably the funnest for me. Um, boy, I went out to Iowa a couple times, and that was fun. It was crazy fast, but very fun. Um, just a lot of them. As far as a short track around here, Golden Sands was always good. But they're all unique. I mean, you can go to Kakana and have a lot of fun at that racetrack. Lacrosse. I look at all the racetracks that I've been at, and they all just I like them all. Really, I
Mm,
don't have a real big favorite. You know, um, I would have to say I loved going to Rockford, but I
mm.
just didn't have very good luck at Rockford. In 2010, I did with the 99 car, but the rest of the time, I never really had a lot of luck at Rockford. But I liked going there because of the heritage
Yeah.
and all of that. But I just never had a lot of huge success there. So um, I like them all, and I think that's what's been great about my career has just been able to go to all these different racetracks. And, sometimes people don't even get opportunities to get away from their local racetrack. And I feel blessed that I was able to do that and have the support around me that I had to do it. And just look back at the whole thing and just be like, man, that was just so much fun. So much fun meeting all the people and being able to be able to say that I could do it is pretty cool.
Yeah. Is there one track that you'd like to run yet that you haven't?
Yeah, I'd say Gateway. I missed Gateway when they went down to Gateway a bunch of years back. Some good friends of ours, Jason and Becky Schuler, everybody knows them, got married, and we went to their wedding. We missed the Midwest Tour race there, and I really wish I would have been able to go there. At least that would have been an opportunity at a racetrack that I had opportunity for. Um, I always wanted to go to the Snowball Derby, but and I even told my wife that when I met her, that was a goal of mine was to be able to go to the Snowball Derby, and I think it was 2 years ago. I was talking to Toby like right after Oktoberfest, and he's like, just do it. I get home and I didn't tell her that I was talking to Toby. He's like, he goes, I'll help you out. I'll give you this, and we'll get you in the ballpark. Just go down there. And I remember I was at the shop that night, I think. And I remember I was in the shower before work one day, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this snowball derby thing? Because I had mentioned it to her the day before or whatever it is. And she goes, that's just a lot of money, because we were gonna have to take money out of our savings to go.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, it's always been a dream of mine. I remember the day she looks at me and she goes, well, I've always had a lot of hopes and dreams too. I'm like, good point. We don't need to drain our savings just to go to the snowball derby.
Touche. Touche. Well, maybe you can come down at least to watch it. It could turn into a little vacation anyway for the two of you.
Yeah, well, that's funny you say that too, because last year I went down there and I never even made it to the racetrack. So we went down there with some friends that were going to race the 604 race, I think it was.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
that got rained out, and last week was kind of goofy with all the rain. And then Sunday rolled around, and we're like, should we go to the race or should we just sit in the condo and watch it on TV? And we wound up just sitting in the condo and watching it on TV. So we went all the way down there for a vacation and never even went to the racetrack. So I even told her, I'm like, Wendy, I want to show you the track. She goes, I see it. It's right here. It's on TV. Yeah. So
Oh shoot. I
well,
don't know Wendy that
I answered
well.
that question for you already. We already took a vacation for the snowball derby. Never
Yeah,
went to the racetrack.
that's funny. I don't know Wendy that well, but she sounds hilarious. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a good time. She's awesome.
Wonderful.
I couldn't
Well,
do it without her, without all the support that she does, for me. And even now, doing all the races with Levon, there's a lot of things that she's sacrificing for me to be able to go and do this with Levon. And Levon's in the program this year for the quickie development. So
mhm.
we added a bunch of races for that aspect. And it's going to be a tough summer. But we talked about it and she's really supportive of it. And we're gonna give it our best and try to see if we can get him to win that thing. It's a pretty big deal. He's very, very proud of it. Um, he's very, very proud of the fact that he's going to the same school that Alan has gone to and kind of following them same footsteps. So I'm happy that I can help him along that journey and be there for him. So that's part of this year, and we'll make the best of the 6 races at State Park for me, and then the rest of them we're going to focus on Levon for to try to get his career going.
Nice. Are you also going to run that Midwest tour race then at State Park?
We haven't decided that yet.
Okay.
having having 2 to 3 race cars at the racetrack with the same crew is dang tough, and I think everybody
Mm.
would agree with me on that. We've done it. We've done 2 to 3 cars. Everybody sees us at Oktoberfest. And we got 3 race cars sitting there, and we try to divvy up duties, who's working on what car, and usually we get a little bit of help from other racers that ain't racing that weekend. But Moss is a little bit different on the Degens weekend. We'll try to. I'm not sure if Jason and I will both race, but we'll probably have one of us there for sure. But again, we're still trying to focus on Levon there, but that's a lot of money to
Yeah,
win. That'd be
I
pretty
know.
cool.
It would. It
Plus, I
would.
got a couple Degens wins, so I like to rack up another one. But
Well, and you know
we'll
your way
see.
around that track really well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we'll give it a try.
I would love
We'll
that.
see how this weekend goes first.
Right. Well, this is
Yeah.
actually going to air on, I say air, we'll end up putting it out there this coming Tuesday. I got to find my calendar to look at it. So that would be on the 21st,
So
right?
everybody will
Yeah.
know what happened after that.
Yeah. By the time this drops, you will have already raced at
Yeah,
Wausau.
yeah. Good. So
But
hopefully I got a win there.
that would be awesome. And that would make it even better to see the
Yeah.
winner right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Well, Chris,
Yeah.
thanks so much for taking time to be on the Race and Nuggets podcast. I really appreciate you and I respect you so much as a racer. You are a great combination of old school and still have some of that new approach as
I
you're working
appreciate
with
that.
Levon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everything you do too. This is awesome. I try to catch as many of these podcasts as I can. So we'll keep pushing them along, get some people out there watching them.
We'll see if you can get more views than Brad.
Okay, I will try. Okay.
Thank you very much. Take
All right.
care.
Thank you. You too. I know.